Let's start the topic quadratics. The prior knowledge number one, to carry out the process of completing the square for a quadratic polynomial ax square plus bx plus c, and use this form for example to locate the vertex of the graph of y equals ax square plus bx plus c, or to sketch the graph. So before continuing, let me try to explain you how we deal with this completing the square for a quadratic polynomial. Its general form is written in this way: y equals a times x minus h whole square plus k. Okay, we should know that the quadratic curve are sketched in this way or in this way, upside down or like a U-shaped curve. So come back to this general form. A represents, I can say that if A is less than 0, means if it is in negative sign, the curve is like this, or we call it maximum curve. And if A is greater than 0, means if it is a positive value, the curve looks like this. It's a U-shaped curve, and we call it a minimum curve. So you see x minus h whole square. So if we just take x minus h and equate it with 0, so x would be equals to h. It means the x coordinates are h values. These occurs on the top of the curve or at the minimum point on the curve, like this. This is the maximum point, and if the curve is like U-shaped, it has a minimum point. So x represent the point on the top or at the extreme bottom or at the extreme minimum point, and this x represents that the curve is symmetrical about this x coordinate, and the y represent the maximum value here, or if the curve is minimum, the y represent the minimum value here. Alright, if I equate y equals k, if you look at the general form of this squared form, so the k represent the y value on the maximum curve or at the minimum curve. Second, we are talking about the prior knowledge to find the discriminant of a quadratic polynomial ax square plus bx plus c, and use the discriminant for example to determine the number of real roots of the equation ax square plus bx plus c equals 0. Let me explain you a little bit about the discriminant. We know that a quadratic equation can be solved with the help of a quadratic formula, and that is x equals minus b plus minus b square minus 4ac whole over 2a. So if I pick just b square minus 4ac, so this portion is known as discriminant, and this portion can decide what kind of roots would be. Suppose if we place the values in b, a and c in the given quadratic equation and we solve it, and if b square minus 4ac is greater than 0, I can say the roots are real and distinct. What does it mean further? So, suppose if I sketch a quadratic curve in the Cartesian plane, if the curve is cutting the x-axis at two different points, so it means the b square minus 4ac is greater than 0. So the roots are real and distinct. Distinct means two different values. Suppose if the curve is upside down, the quadratic curve, and it is cutting the x-axis from two different points, so b square minus 4ac is greater than 0. Further, if b square minus 4ac is equal to 0, the roots are we can say the roots are real and repeated. The meaning of repeated is that the x-axis becomes tangent to the curve, quadratic curve. Suppose if the curve is like this, it is just touching the x-axis. Tangent means that the x-axis just touch the curve at one point, or if the curve is upside down and it is just touching the x-axis at one point, or you can say at the minimum or the maximum point, the b square minus 4ac would be equals to 0. You would see the answer would be repeated. Third one, if b square minus 4ac is less than 0, so the roots are complex, or you can say no real roots. Suppose if the curves are drawn in the Cartesian plane, quadratic curves, and they are not touching, wait, the x-axis at all at any point, so the roots would be complex, means there would be negative sign in the square root. Our third point is solve the quadratic equations and linear and quadratic inequalities. In one unknown. In this you would be given a linear equation and a quadratic equation, and there will be one unknown, and examiner would ask us to solve them simultaneously and find out that the value of unknown. The fourth point is solve by substitution a pair of simultaneous equation of which one is linear and one is quadratic. Actually, this would be the same as I talked about the previous previous one. in which we have to solve the quadratic equation and linear and quadratic inequalities. And the last one in our prior knowledge, recognize and solve equations in X which are quadratic in some function of X, for example, x power 4 minus 5x squared plus 4 equals 0. So these are the prior knowledge before we start understanding our topic exactly according to these 4 or 5 points, and we will discuss further in detail on these given 5 topics. So thank you very much. We will proceed in the next video.